Hello, grade 4 friends. Today we are going to talk about the mighty color wheel, and boy, is it mighty. So how do we see color? Color originates from white light, and we know that all colors of the rainbow are present in white light. If you have a rectangular prism and you have light shine through it, you will see all the colors of the rainbow that will be cast down from the prism. As light comes down on an object, so say if we were looking at an apple, your eye would absorb all of the color rays except for the color red. The red light would bounce off and go to your eyes. So that's a little bit about the science of color. In art, it's a little bit different. We often use paint to mix our colors. And here is the color wheel. Hopefully you are familiar with it. Primary colors, as we know, are considered probably the most important colors we use on the color wheel. Why? Because you can use them to make all of the others. And they are red, yellow, and blue. And hopefully you know that. Their job, as I said, is to mix different combinations of them to make your secondary and your intermediate colors that we're going to talk about today. It was once believed that all colors came in some form of red, yellow, and blue, but through time this has not been the case. So there's actually different color wheels in art than just the traditional, as we call it, RYB, red, yellow, and blue, where we mix paints to make our secondary and intermediate colors. In the RYB color wheel, white is the absence of color. In the photo color wheel, in photography, you're mixing light, not pigment. So that's a little bit different. So that's when you use a camera or in Photoshop. You start with the color black. Black is considered the absence of light, and then you add to it. Now, in printing, so if you have a printer at home, you actually don't, printing inks are usually not sold in RYB, red, yellow, and blue. They're sold in cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, because black is considered black is the ink, white is the paper, and there is no white when you are printing. So you just start with the color black. And then as you see, cyan and yellow make green, magenta and cyan make blue, and magenta and yellow make red. So 3 different color wheels. Kind of crazy, right? So as I said, we mix our primary colors to make secondary colors. If you're in 2nd grade, the number that represents second is number 2, because you need 2 primaries to make each secondary. So yellow and red make orange, blue and yellow will make green, and finally red and blue make violet. Another word for violet, do you know, is purple. You can say purple or you can say violet. So, as I said, the secondary colors are green, orange, and purple, and they have the upside down triangular formation on the color wheel. You need 2 primaries to make them, and a way to remember is look at the 2 primaries that come in between it. As you see, what comes in between yellow and red? Orange. Between yellow and blue? Green. And between red and blue, purple. Here you go. Now let's talk about tertiary colors. They're also called intermediate colors. And these are the colors that come between the primary and the secondary colors. They're some of my favorites, such as yellow-orange, red-orange, red-purple or red-violet, blue-purple or blue-violet, blue-green, and yellow-green. So when you mix violet and red, you get red-violet. Sometimes we call it magenta. It's a great color. Red and orange is red-orange. Sometimes people call it vermilion. Yellow and orange would be yellow orange or marigold. Yellow and green, one of my favorites, yellow green, or can be called chartreuse. Blue and green, well, there's different names for that. Turquoise, aquamarine, teal, those are all blue greens. Blue and violet will give you blue violet or indigo. So the tertiary colors follow the same rule as secondaries. They go in between the two colors that you mix to make them. So they always come between a primary and a secondary. So red violet, to mix it, you just mix the two colors next to it, which are red and violet. Complementary colors. These are colors that are directly across from each other on the color wheel. So if we look at the color purple, the complement would be yellow. Blue, directly across the complement is orange, and red and green are complements. They are made up by mixing one primary color and one secondary color. When you place them next to each other side by side, they produce contrast. So if you see this background, the orange and blue are complements, and that causes vibration. As you see, the orange and blue look very bright and they stand out. So if we look at this combination of colors, this is the complement, and these are two, this is blue looks like, and blue-green. The orange and blue should stand out a little bit more than the two shades of blue. And red and green are complements, and as you see, that produces a lot of high contrast. This could be a good thing or a bad thing, because right now my eyes are just, woohoo, they're having a hard time focusing with this very bright contrast. Now, something happens when you mix complementary colors, okay? They share nothing in common with each other because they're opposite on the color wheel. So do you know what happens when you mix them? I think some of you do. They neutralize, so they create browns and grays. So if we had red and green paint and we mixed it, we would get this dark brown color. Yellow and purple looks like a lighter brown. Blue and orange is like a brownish gray. And even the tertiary or intermediate colors have a complementary color. So I forgot to mention, the tertiaries can also be called intermediates. It's the same word. If you go opposite red-orange, its complement would be blue-green. Blue-violet and yellow-orange are complements. Red-violet and yellow-green. Also, if you mix these, you would get browns and grays. They neutralize. Warm and cool. I'm sure many of you are familiar with warm and cool colors. Half of the color wheel, which would be 6 colors, because there's 12 colors total, are considered warm colors, and the other half are considered cool colors. So warm colors are colors on the wheel. Think about things in nature that are warm, like sunsets, the sun, fire, autumn leaves. Although autumn leaves don't have to feel warm to the touch, but often if you think of the sun and fire, red, orange, and yellows, those would be considered warm colors. Things that are cool, thinking in nature, water, ice, green leaves. So the greens, blues, and purples are considered the cool colors. Warm and cool colors can give you a mood or feeling when you look at a work of art. You see, we have our emotions here with the emojis. So if we look at Vincent van Gogh's Sunflowers, he uses a lot of the color yellow. To me, yellow looks very bright and joyful, and it gives me a very kind of warm, pleasant feeling when I look at this painting. For the opposite, this is Pablo Picasso, and this is a painting called The Guitar Player, and looking at his facial expressions, but also the color blue in this. Blue can mean calm, but in this, it definitely looks more like sadness. And then Edvard Munch, this is a very famous painting called The Scream. Sunsets, of course, could be very calm, but the way he paints the sky, it almost looks like the sky is on fire. Again, looking at his facial expression, this can give you a feeling of uneasiness. And then Claude Monet, you have beautiful blue violets and violets in this water lily painting. Definitely gives me a feeling of calmness and relaxation. Tint, shades, and tones. This will conclude our color wheel lesson. To make tints and shades, we use something in art called value, and that's very different than value in math. Value in math is what something is worth. Value in art means the lightness or darkness of a color. So when we add black to a color, we make a shade. And if you think of the word shadow, shadows are dark. So here we have red and black, and that makes, we can call that maroon or dark red. To make a tint, we add white. So red and white would make light red, and do you know what else we call light red? Pink. Blue and white would be sky blue. Now, a tone is when you mix gray to a color. So that kind of neutralizes the pink a little bit. It's a little bit of a duller pink because you're mixing gray. When we have a series of tints and shades all in one color, so the base color here would be red, if you add increments of white, your colors will get lighter and lighter. And as you add small amounts of black, they'll get darker and darker. And this is called monochromatic in art. All right, kiddos, that concludes our lesson in color theory. I hope you enjoyed it. I love color. And we will be starting our art activity using the color wheel in the next video. Bye.